Have you ever read, a headline about a company's results and just wished you could really get underneath it all, go beyond the surface news?
Yeah, figure out what's really going on with their strategy or challenges, maybe their future plans.
Exactly, and that's what we're doing today. Okay, so let's dive in. Cipla's Q1 FY26 financials. It's dated July 25, 2025.
Right.
And the mission isn't just, reading out numbers. It's about pulling out the key insights for you. Financial health, strategic moves, even their sustainability stuff.
It's a good way to see how a big pharma company actually talks to its investors, isn't it? Presents its results, its vision.
Definitely.
Sometimes these reports can be pretty dense, let's be honest. So our aim is to unpack it, make it accessible, and, really highlight the story behind the data.
Okay, so let's dive in. Cipla's Q1 FY26 financials. What's the big picture?
Well, right at the top, revenue came in at INR 6,957 crore, which is up 4% compared to last year. A solid start.
4% growth, okay. But what about profitability? Does that follow?
It does, actually, and that's maybe even more impressive. Their EBITDA earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, that's a key measure of operational profit, right?
Right.
That also grew 4% year on year, hitting INR 1,778 crore. That gives them a really strong EBITDA margin of 25.6%.
25.6% margin, wow.
Yeah. And the profit after tax, the PAT, that jumped a significant 10% year on year.
10%, okay, that's substantial.
It is. Came in at INR 12,298 crore, giving a PAT margin of 18.7%. So it shows they're not just growing sales, they're very efficient operationally, turning revenue into real profit. Speaks volumes about their financial health, I think.
So with that kind of profit momentum, what does it mean for their stability? Does this translate into like a stronger foundation on the balance sheet?
Absolutely. You connect these profits to their balance sheet as of June 2025, and it looks formidable. Very little total debt, just INR 459 crore.
That's low.
Extremely low. And compare that to their cash balance, INR 10,838 crore.
Wow.
So that leaves them with a huge net cash position of INR 10,379 crore.
Over 10,000 crore net cash.
Yeah. And for a pharma company, that's not just a safety buffer, it's strategic firepower.
Right. For acquisitions or...
Exactly. M&A, investing in new tech, expanding into new areas. In this industry, having that kind of cash on hand gives you serious leverage. It really changes their long-term options.
Got it. So strong financials,
Yeah.
strong balance sheet. Let's look at where this revenue is coming from. What's the geographic split?
Okay, so biggest chunk is one India. That's 44% of the total revenue.
Home market advantage.
Definitely. Then North America is pretty significant at 28%.
Crucial market.
One Africa contributes 13%. Then you have emerging markets and Europe together at 12%. API, that's active pharmaceutical ingredients, is just 1%, and others make up the last 2%. So quite a global spread, but India and North America are clearly the anchors.
Right. Okay, so let's pivot from the numbers to the engines driving this growth, the strategy. Where are they really pushing forward? Let's start with India, their home turf.
Yeah, and there's a big headline there.
Which is?
Cipla actually recorded its highest ever Q1 sales in India. They crossed the INR 3,000 crore mark for the first time in an opening quarter.
3,000 crore in Q1 alone.
Yep, INR 3,070 crore to be precise. That's a major milestone. Shows real dominance.
And how does that translate into market position?
Well, they're holding on to their number 2 rank in the overall chronic segment in India. And chronic treatments make up 61.5% of their mix there.
It's a big focus on long-term therapies.
Exactly, which tends to mean more stable revenue streams. And importantly, their key therapy areas, respiratory, urology, anti-diabetes, cardiac, anti-infectives, they all grew faster than the overall market.
Okay, so targeted growth in valuable areas.
Precisely.
The presentation mentions respiratory supremacy in India. That sounds, well, dominant. What's behind that?
It really is quite something. Basically, Cipla's respiratory brands hold all of the top 6 spots in the Indian pharmaceutical market, the IPM.
All 6?
All 6. And their biggest brand overall, Foracort, is ranked number 1.
Wow.
And they're not resting on that. They've actually restructured their respiratory division, created a dedicated team, and they're doing these triple launches for COPD.
Triple launches.
Yeah, combining therapies, like Voltido Trio, that's India's first triple therapy in one device, and Glycohale FB, which they say is the world's first DPI, dry powder inhaler triple drug.
So simplifying treatment for patients.
Exactly. Significant for patient care, combining multiple drugs into one inhale, convenience, adherence, all that. It's smart innovation.
And it's not just respiratory, right? What other moves are they making in India?
No, they're busy elsewhere too. They launched EMPA for anti-diabetes, and after the original drug lost exclusivity, the LOE Cipla's version quickly hit fourth rank among the new generics.
That's fast.
Very fast. They're also boosting their CNS, central nervous system portfolio through some acquisitions, targeting things like neuropathic pain and sleep disorders.
Okay.
And in urology, they launched something called XTI-KTR for urethral strictures, which the presentation notes as a first of its kind in Asia.
Interesting. So innovation across different therapy areas.
Definitely. And don't forget trade generics. They launched 7 new products there in Q1, even entering orthopedics. Plus, their consumer health brands, Nicotex for smoking cessation, Omnigel pain relief, Cipladine antiseptic. They're all #1 in their categories.
So a really broad push in India. Okay, let's shift continents.
Yeah.
North America, 28% of revenue. That's huge. What's the big story there?
The big win has to be albuterol, their generic albuterol inhaler.
The asthma inhaler.
That's the one. They've captured the #1 spot in the overall U.S. albuterol MDI market. Market share hit 19.5%.
Almost 20% share. That's impressive in the U.S. market.
It really is.
Yeah.
And get this, they've supplied over 50 million of those inhaler units cumulatively.
50 million.
Yeah. Gives you a real sense of their scale and reliability in that critical market.
Definitely. What else is happening in North America?
Well, their market share for lanreotide, that's another important drug, increased to 21% in the quarter, and they launched a couple of key oncology assets, nanopaclitaxel, that's a generic, an ANDA, and nilotinib capsules, which is a new drug application, an NDA.
Oncology is obviously a key area. What about the pipeline? What's coming next from North America?
The pipeline looks pretty robust. They mentioned Gadvair. The generic Advair is getting closer to commercialization.
That's a big one.
Huge potential, yeah. And they're prepping for G-Symbicort and other inhalation products potentially in FY27. They also committed to launching 2 or 3 peptide assets in this fiscal year, FY26.
Peptides are a hot area too.
Very much so. And just to give you the scale of their filings with the FDA as of June 30th, 178 approved NDAs, 39 tentatively approved, and 65 still under review.
So nearly 300 total filings.
282, yeah. It's a massive portfolio fueling future growth.
Okay. Let's hop over to Africa. One Africa, 13% of revenue. How are things looking there?
Pretty healthy, actually. Especially in South Africa, the private market side grew 1.5 times faster than the overall market.
Outpacing the market is always a good sign.
Absolutely, and their market ranks are strong. #2 in prescription drugs with about an 8.8% share. Cipla grew nearly 7% there, while the market grew just under 5%.
Okay.
And they're #3 in OTC, over-the-counter, with an 8.5% share. Again, Cipla grew faster than the market, 3.3% versus 1.8%.
So gaining share in both prescription and OTC.
Seems like it. They also launched 5 new products in South Africa in Q1, including an important new antiretroviral. And performance was solid across respiratory, CNS, anti-infectives. They have the most brands in the top generic segments there.
Right. So solid performance across the board, really. But, it's not just about the numbers these days, is it?
No, absolutely not. ESG, environmental, social governance, is increasingly critical.
And Cipla included quite a bit on their ESG progress in India for FY25. What stood out to you?
Well, they've actually beaten some of their own targets, which is always good to see. For example, they hit 64% renewable electricity use in their India manufacturing.
64%? What was the target?
Target was 50%, so significantly ahead there. And they're 1.75 times water positive.
Meaning they put back more water than they use.
Exactly. Way beyond just being water neutral. Plus, all their India manufacturing sites are certified zero waste to landfill, ZWTL.
Zero waste to landfill. That's a big commitment.
It is, and really important on the environmental side.
What about things like safe discharge?
Yeah.
Especially relevant for pharma manufacturing.
Yeah, crucial point. They highlighted full compliance with the safe discharge targets set by the AMR Industry Alliance.
AMR being antimicrobial resistance.
Right. Preventing drug residues getting into the environment, which can fuel resistance. They specifically mentioned their ciprofloxacin plant in Indore and azithromycin plant in Goa are compliant and certified. That's leadership and responsible manufacturing.
That's really positive. Was everything positive, though? Any areas needing work?
Well, they were transparent about one very serious point. They acknowledged 2 fatalities occurred in the fiscal year 2024-25.
Oh,
Yeah, against a goal of 0, obviously. It's a stark reminder, that workplace safety is a constant challenge, even with strong commitments.
absolutely. A sobering point.
Mm-hmm. They also noted other positives, though, like 67% of their India operations are zero liquid discharge sites, ZLD.
Meaning they recycle all their wastewater.
Essentially, yes,
Look at that.
treat and reuse it internally. And they published a double materiality assessment report, which shows they're taking ESG reporting seriously and focusing on what matters most to stakeholders and the business.
And did they mention suppliers? Because ESG often extends down the chain, right?
They did. They touched on supplier ESG assessments,
Mhm.
said about 36% of their procurement spend is now with suppliers who've undergone ESG audits.
Okay, so progress there too.
Yeah, moving in the right direction, embedding it in their supply chain.
Okay, so let's pull it all together then. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive into Cipla's Q1 presentation?
Well, I mean, you see a company firing on, well, quite a few cylinders. Strong Q1 financials, good profitability, that huge net cash position.
Right, the strategic firepower.
Exactly. Then you've got impressive strategic execution, particularly in India, with that record quarter in respiratory dominance, but also solid gains in North America and Africa, driven by key launches and market share growth.
And backed up by a pretty robust pipeline.
A very robust pipeline. And alongside all that, clear progress and transparency on their ESG commitments, even while acknowledging areas like safety still need constant focus.
So financially strong, strategically growing, and increasingly focused on sustainability.
That seems to be the picture, yeah. Which kind of leads to a broader thought, doesn't it?
Go on.
Well, when you dig into these details, beyond just the headline revenue number, how does this deeper understanding of their operations, their specific product wins, their pipeline, their ESG efforts, how does all that really help you build a more complete picture?
A more complete picture of their actual competitive strength, maybe, and their long-term sustainability in such a fast-moving industry like pharma.
Exactly. How does knowing how they achieve the numbers change your view compared to just knowing the numbers themselves? Something to think about.
Definitely something to reflect on. Hopefully this deep dive shows how much you can uncover when you look closely at these corporate reports, surprising achievements, strategic nuances, and maybe even broader industry trends.